Welcome back. On the line with us is Professor Jason Stanley. He is the Jacob Burowski Professor of Philosophy at Yale University, the author of 4 books, including his latest, How Fascism Works, The Politics of Us and Them. You can tweet him at Jason in Traitor, JASONINTRATOR. Or Penguin Random House. The book is published by Penguin Random House. I'm gonna pick up a phone call here first. AJ has been on the line for a long time. AJ, what's on your mind today?
I was interested in what you were saying about bias and the fear mongering and amongst the people and how it's being perpetuated by. I think a lot of people don't realize that the corrupt rich people, along with this corrupt corporate media, are the ones who are feeding this stuff that these weapons of mass deception to the people. And as long as we're fighting amongst each other, I was always taught, look to see who benefits from all of this.
Yep.
And we don't benefit from it. So I think that people need to start thinking more as to what is going on and who's going to benefit from us with all this fighting. Black people are not interested in taking over white people, and this is just some stupidity, but it's very effective. And the more they push this stuff, the more people are distracted as to what the people who are pushing these things, what they're benefiting from it.
Yeah, I get it, and I agree. And I think it's a really important conversation. AJ, thank you. Perhaps our guest can speak to that. Professor Jason Stanley's on the line with us. As mentioned before, he is the professor of philosophy at Yale University, the author of 4 books. His most recent, How Fascism Works, The Politics of Us and Them. Professor Stanley, welcome back to the program. Oops. Excuse me, hybrid 2. Professor Stanley, welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Tom. It's good to be back.
Thanks for joining us. So you wrote the book, How Fascism Works. First of all, your thoughts on AJ's comments, and then my question, where are we at on this, on the spectrum or scale of, how fascistic a country is or is moving?
So AJ makes a great point that when fascist ideology takes hold, the dominant group feels that it's being victimized by encroaching equality. So as AJ rightly said, he's like, black people in seeking liberation and seeking equality are not seeking to displace white people on a hierarchy. They're just seeking equality. But if you're used to what fascist politics does is it gives the dominant group the sense that equality is an enormous loss, that there's no such thing as equality, that equality is a myth, that nature prefers a hierarchy. And the only way another group could achieve equality is by displacing you and becoming dominant. So AJ is targeting exactly fascist thinking. He's saying, look, for some reason they're thinking that when we're asking to get treated like white people get treated, we get the response is that we're trying to take over.
Right. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. So where is the United States at? How have we changed in terms of, being a fascist nation? How have we changed over the last 40, 50 years? And in particular, how have we changed in the last year and a half?
So my book is in the first instance about fascist politics. I think countries that get taken over by leaders who employ such politics have very different governments that result. That said, a liberal democratic culture is one that has equal respect for everyone, and truth is respected because truth is central to democracy. Democracy prizes liberty, and democracy prizes equality, and without truth, you're not free and you're not politically equal. Nobody thinks the citizens of North Korea are free. They've been lied to. So if you've been lied to, nobody thinks that the people in the matrix are free. If you're lied to, then you're not free. Similarly, if you don't have truth, if you don't have knowledge, then you can't speak truth to power, and all that's left is power.
So this is the dilemma that people who watch Fox News all day long have.
That's right. So that's why it's important to emphasize that although fascist politics targets, in the first instance, minorities, sexual minorities, feminists, liberals, foreigners, though those are labor unions, leftists, so those are its targets. And its real target is the people it's directed at, the supporters, because they're not free. They're being lied to. And if you're being lied to, you should actually be quite upset. Now, we have a long history of that kind of lying in our country. It underlies the treatment of Black Americans, for example. I mean, all the way back to the time of slavery, lynching, mass incarceration, think of super predator theory, these myths that Black Americans were somehow like more violent or more dangerous rather than just much more economically disadvantaged. They have led to people becoming inured to being lied to. And what we see now is that spilling over the top. Of course, it didn't help that we had in Iraq with the Iraq War and the financial crisis. So where we are now, what worries me now, besides the loss of a grip on reality in our national politics, what worries me now is the encroachment of a one-party state. Hannah Arendt warns about this in The Origins of Totalitarianism. She says, the people get tempted by party over party. And what she means by that is people get tempted by loyalty to party over loyalty to a multi-party system. And when you have a minority of Americans electing a president and a minority of Americans electing a Senate, and you have a locked-in far-right, not just right, but far-right Supreme Court for generations to come, we're risking a one-party state. And that is inimical to our democracy. Now, so I think on two dimensions we have serious worries. We've lost democratic norms. We've lost a grip on reality. Loyalty is replacing reality. We've lost a grip on equal respect. We've normalized our fellow people being called horrible things. That's normal now. We've normalized horrific treatment of fellow human beings. And so I'm concerned about both those developments.
Yeah. What do we do about this? You look at Orban's Hungary or, the Philippines, Duterte, or Erdogan in Turkey. These are countries that, supposedly had vibrant, healthy, small d democratic systems and now have slid into, at the very least, oligarchy, if not outright autocracy. How do we, or fascism, to use your term, how do we avoid that happening here?
Well, I think I'm actually not that, I'm worried. I think we have a lot of repair of democratic norms to do. But I think that we look to groups. I think women are taking political lead right now. Fascism is strongman politics that involves sort of a strong, somebody presenting them as a strong macho leader. And we have a strong reprisal against that with feminist politics and women leaders. I think there's somewhat of a shock to the system right now about the open anti-democratic politics we're seeing. And perhaps now is a moment where people can go back and look at some of the fissures in our country that enabled this kind of politics to take control and maybe see that those fissures leave us vulnerable. So if Republicans and Democrats can come together and stop thinking about taking over the country for their party and seeing that actually, our long history of anti-Black racism, our long history of patriarchy, sexism, our desire to see a strong CEO leader, large economic gaps, these leave us vulnerable to the kinds of politics we're seeing. So maybe we can have a democratic socialist coming and making some policy proposals that will make sense to ordinary Americans.
From your lips to God's ears, Professor Jason Stanley, his new book is How Fascism Works, The Politics of Us and Them. Thank you, sir.